Hello, Lynette here. You know how you're on YouTube and you're looking at a story about Hillary, and then the next thing you know, you get this other story pops up that's about Africa, and the next thing you know, something pops up about child brides in Africa, and then you see that you've lost an hour and a half to 3 hours of your life. I'm sure you've all been there, and we won't even talk about cat videos. I did this the other day about something called Tavistock. Now, if you've never heard of that, I don't think you should feel alone, because I hadn't either. I mean, it rang sort of a faint bell, but I have no idea what it was from or anything. And so I started looking at this stuff, and it is one scary cesspool to look into. And it explains so many things that are going on in our country right now. And it just made the pieces of the puzzle just go ka-chunk and just like make sense. So, a little brief history. It was started in 1921 in London, and it was mainly for victims of the First World War of shell shock. You know, they came back so damaged from all that. And then by 1946, it had evolved into more of a, they definitely were being very open about the fact that they were all about mind control and manipulating the masses. And by the 50s, they apparently gave away their knowledge to, I assume, the Koreans, because it was used on American prisoners of war, which I guess is where the Manchurian Candidate movie came from. That's kind of interesting. And now, move up here to the present time, and the Tavistock Institute is still in London. It is funded by the Rothschilds, and it was back then funded by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. And now I imagine it's funded by all the other rich people, the Soroses and all this kind of thing. It's a nonprofit, supposedly. And the one YouTube channel showed a picture of the actual office building. It's very staid, very British looking. And what their policy is now is diversity training and sensitivity training. Now, we've all heard those words. And what they actually mean is that their goal is to strip people of the world. This is not an American thing. This is people of the world of their individualism so that they can be controlled. Now, this absolutely ties in with my whole thing I've been ranting about for months about globalism and how the George Soros is of the world. And it's not just him. I mean, there's like 7 of these people. They want to have power over the world because, well, that's what drives them. But in order to do that, they have to make us all be of the Borg. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we have to be like drones, like all the same. So individualism is the problem with the New World Order. And that's the phrase that they use. They don't use globalism. They use New World Order, which is even more Orwellian as far as I'm concerned. It's terrifying. They want people to be obedient and docile so that they can be easily led. And they want to destroy, and this is the kicker because we can see this happening, religion, honor, patriotism, and sexual norms. And that's why we're seeing all this transgenderism and the whole, so much of the gay stuff has just gone completely to the far side, let's just say. And this is, they are using this as their tools to downgrade society. And if you think about it, you'll see that we are seeing this happen. When remember the Kavanaugh hearings, the video clip that shows up all the time on things when somebody's talking about feminists and crazy feminists, they show the clip of that young woman. She looks like a perfectly sane human being. She's somebody's daughter, right? And she's pounding on the doors of the Senate where the hearings were held and trying to pry apart the doors like a crazed zombie. Think of the last zombie movie you used where they're doing this kind of thing to get to people to eat their brains. That's what it looks like. And you look at this and you think, what is wrong with these people? There's another clip that shows up all the time of this kind of pink-haired, really ugly young woman, and she's got glasses on, and she was at some women's march or something, and she's on the ground, and she's screaming and pounding her fists on the ground like somebody who should be locked up. And as we've been watching this kind of behavior, especially in the past year, it started with the Donald being elected in 2016, and people just tearing their hair out, and the women's marches and people screaming and stuff. But it used to be that we would look at this behavior and think, there's something terribly wrong with these people. And yes, we joke, us on the right, we joke that people on the left have gone crazy, but it's actually true. They are being manipulated by these different bodies. And here's where I get to chapter 3 of this story, is that Facebook is absolutely part of this, dare I say the word conspiracy? Facebook is like the leader of this whole thing. And they got some interesting people working for them a few years ago. Well, 2010, they hired Richard Allen, and his title is Vice President of Global Policy. It's kind of an Orwellian title too, isn't it? And he was a member of British Parliament at some point in his career. He looks like he's maybe in his early 50s. Just actually looks like the guy, kind of a round face, nothing to look at guy, kind of dumpy. And so he's been with Facebook for 8 years. Have you ever heard of him? I haven't. His name just goes completely under the radar, except he's the person who showed up in London a month or two ago when they had a hearing about Facebook and their tactics, and Mark Zuckerberg didn't show up. He did. So that kind of tells you how much power he has. I mean, look at his title, Vice President of Global Policy. That's a pretty big title. And then a month ago, they hired Nick Clegg, who was at one time Deputy Prime Minister, I think under Tony Blair. He's also a very young man, probably in his 50s. He's really handsome and charismatic. He's quite the foxy thing. And his title is Vice President of Global Affairs and Communications. Now, these titles seem really redundant to me. I'm not sure why we need two people that are making God knows how much money to be doing the same job, but oh well, it's Zuckerberg's money. But the Richard Allen, he comes from a long line of spies. His father was a spy. His grandfather was Chief of Staff at the Adjutant General of War Office in 41 through 45. So he was absolutely tied in with the military and all of their crazy antics. And they know that Facebook, in order to be the power structure that it strives to be, it has to be a monopoly. They can't have any competition. So that's why they try to quash anything that's on the right. And all the other little things, Minds and Gab and all these kind of places that have popped up, they're constantly battered on by the big guy because they don't want any competition. And it's also kind of weird that nobody's really stepped up to the plate to make something to compete with Facebook. So if they can destroy religion, honor, patriotism, and sexual norms, then they can bring society down to this swampy level where it's very easily controlled. And I think we are seeing this. So my word to you is, you have to turn off your Facebook. Don't just stop using it. Cancel it. And it's actually kind of a process because they don't want you to. And I know from when my husband did it, it took him months to get it to actually go away. I only have a Facebook account because I had to have one to do a video for the Walkaway campaign. But now that it's been up for half a year, I'm going to take it down. And I don't do any communicating on any of the social medias, which probably hurts my channel because, well, I just think it does. But it doesn't matter. I do not want to have them have their little spying eyes on me. So in case you wondered why I don't have Twitter or Facebook, that's why. So you're going to look up Tavistock, Tavistock, just like it sounds. And then and I'm going to include a couple of links for a couple of really good videos. One is really short, but it gives boom, 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 A, B, C, D of what Tavistock is. And just that little dab, you're going to go, holy shit. I had no idea. Mind control. Think about it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.